Well, hello and welcome to a festive edition of Gazzetta Dello Wrexham. Christmas is coming, the goose is getting fat. Please put a penny in Steve Cook's hat. If you haven't got a penny, a halfpenny will do. If you haven't got a halfpenny, insert your own Chester fan joke here. Wrexham, of course, have already been getting into the festive spirit throughout December. We've had more red cards than Karl Marx's friends and family got. And we're also expecting an early Christmas present because, of course, we're going to get that expected cash bonanza from playing at Stoke, which means Wrexham can replenish their squad. Kevin Wilkins already got his transfer wish list sorted out, and he's making a list, he's checking it twice. He'll sign anyone who's played for Bury once or twice. So, to my right here is Carl Hogan, the ghost of Christmas present, a man so up to date where he is, it's tomorrow. I'm the ghost of Christmas past. I remember Sean Cunnington playing for Wrexham. And the other side of me is Alex Taylor, the ghost of Christmas future, who sadly isn't here at the moment. He's currently making his way across to us by the fastest form of transport possible, Santa's sled, who'll keep you updated on his progress throughout the broadcast. But anyway, to have a look at what's in the news first up, my favourite story, my exciting suspend your sense of reality at Christmas story is Wes York in the leader today saying that last Saturday wasn't really all that bad.
Yes, I think most people will be fairly surprised by that, Mark, but I kind of get where he's coming from a little bit. If we had have took our chances, we may have won the game. They took their chances and they were quite decisive when they did as well. So yeah, it was strange to say. I don't think the fans will enjoy that article though.
No, I mean, what he said made perfect sense, and to be fair, sometimes you put a bit of a spin on a player's comments and to make it interesting, and perhaps that's what happened with him. But it wasn't great. I remember going to the Braintree game a month ago and thinking, is this the worst I've seen a Wrexham team play against a bad side?
Yeah.
I then started getting similar feelings at Southport, and then I started getting a little bit of feelings like that with Dartford, who'd lost the last 5 away games. We've got to pick up from what was going on there, haven't we?
We've got to, yeah. I mean, I didn't see the Braintree game. I've seen the DVD of it. It wasn't good. The Southport away game was pretty bad. I didn't think it could get much worse than that. Saturday wasn't good, but we did carve out chances on again, like Wes York says, on another day we could be burying those.
Something I don't accept as a cause for what happened on Saturday, but it seems quite popular, seems to have some credence online, and amongst the fans that I saw and heard during and after the match was that players were scared of getting injured before the Stoke game. But surely it's too soon to say that. Surely, unlike Sony executives, we're not scared of getting hacked before Christmas.
No, I don't think that's the case, to be honest. Knowing them and seeing the commitment that they put in. I mean, it is the sole driving force behind the club is getting promoted. I mean, yeah, it would be devastating for one of them to miss out, but I'm not sure I wouldn't take it that far at all.
Absolutely. Well, good news for Stoke, apart from their lovely cash, is Daniel Bachman is staying as well. That's terrific news for us, isn't it?
Brilliant. He's the best. I said it on Saturday in the podcast. I think I said it the Tuesday before, and the game before. I think he is the best goalkeeper we've had for a considerable amount of time. He shows so much promise. I think Stoke are onto a good thing with him. He could play at that level.
Best keeper in the conference?
Yeah. Best one I've seen so far. I mean, there are some good goalkeepers in the conference. Even Sam Russell, there's a case for, and he's our ex-goalkeeper. But there are some good goalkeepers in the conference who could be playing Football League. Again, it's a minority position, isn't it? So they're in demand, but that means that some of the better ones will be playing lower down. Someone like Dan, it'll probably be invaluable experience for him going forward to have played at our level.
I think it's weird, isn't it? Again, the sort of festive theme of him and Flat coming back again, and we're getting more repeats in our squad than you usually get at Christmas. But I just feel a little bit sorry for Coughlan. You know, he seems to be really marginalised. Surely Flat gets the nod at Stoke because he's been our cup keeper, and Coughlan is, well, are we going to end up the end of the season with no keepers because he won't want to hang around?
It's a balancing act, isn't it? We've got to try and keep everyone happy. We've got 4 goalkeepers on the books, and that's going to be difficult going forward. I'm not sure how long is John Flack's.
I think it's another month initially, isn't it?
Another month initially. So, I mean, that's us keeping 4 goalkeepers happy for another month. I know Louis Gray, he's not near the squad at the moment, and then Andy Coughlan would expect to be Wrexham's number 1 goalkeeper, but surely he's got to understand as well that there are other people that have been in whilst he's been injured and he's got to wait his turn now.
I think I don't want to as Huma understands the loan regulations, they're so complex. Geraint Parry is amazing because he just knows all the topics like that.
Oh yeah.
He's like a floating brain in a tank, though, isn't he? He knows everything like
He
that.
needs to know everything.
Yeah, exactly. But my understanding of it is that we'll be able to renew him month by month for a maximum of 90 days. I think that's the sort of loan his is. And then after that, we wouldn't be able to keep him any further.
Right.
But like that, remember Dele Adebola, when he came to us and he was on that sort of deal, and his deal would have stopped just before the playoff final. And we all know what would have happened if he could have played in that match, don't we?
Yeah, we'd be playing Football League. No.
League One, high of the hog. Tell you what.
He'd have set the world on fire, no doubt. Big Dele up front.
That's just a rumour. You should repeat it. Just like to emphasise here on behalf of Wrexham Player that Dele Adebola is not an arsonist. Let's move on to hashtags. Hashtag up for Southport.
I'm hashtag up for Southport. I'm hashtag up for Forest Green Rovers. I'm not as hashtag up for Stoke as I should be probably. I was saying to you just before we started. I just want to get these league games out of the way. I want to see us concentrating on these next couple of games. I think they're the most important. Got a nice day out and a nice payday at Stoke. Let's go and enjoy it, but let's not get overwhelmed and be concentrating on it too much. I'm sure the players aren't, but it is always going to be there in the back of everyone's mind. And at the end of the day, it's one day, and we're playing a top team. So if it happens, it happens. We have a good day there, and we go and get a draw, or we win the game. It's been known to happen. Fab, but let's concentrate on these two games that we've got coming up first.
I remember driving to Southport a couple of weeks ago with this guy who reckoned that Wrexham would win at Stoke. I don't know, where he's gone.
My pessimism has snuck in, I'm afraid. Yeah, I remember walking to the ground with you and Ben and saying, yeah, I think we'll win the game. And then I watched us play and realised that was bad decision.
My reality check is, I was trying to think, we might have a chance of still pick their reserves.
Yeah.
But then you realise their fourth choice keeper is much too good for our level. And then I start to worry about what chance we might have in that game.
Yeah, you're right. If you look at Daniel Bachmann, we're just talking about him being the best goalkeeper in the conference. And we just have a team of best players in the conference to go against. Who knows? I mean, I did say the other week as well, when they came in pre-season, we give them a good game, but this is a competitive game. I don't think we should read much into that. And going forward, it is going to be a really difficult day out for the players.
Yeah, comparing friendlies and real matches as well is not accurate. So they're like chalk and cheese. They're like a rational human being and a UKIP councillor. You can't compare those two things, can you, really?
Not at all.
I think as well that when you look at that game, am I being radical in saying that should we care about it? We've got what we can at the FA Cup now. We've got the payday. We've got that big away match. And odds are that we're not going to come any further. In a funny way, we were looking at the trophy and whether we should rotate, but perhaps the trophy is more important than the FA Cup right now. The FA Cup is just now a day out, whereas the trophy could be something we gain further benefit from.
Could be. We've got a chance of going on and winning it, in all honesty. And I know Grimsby's managers come out and said it would be between Gateshead and Grimsby this year. Well, don't count us out, because at the end of the day, I can see us going to Stockport and getting a result, and I can see us getting a result anywhere we need to go in the FA Trophy, to be quite honest. I mean, yeah, there's money to be made there. It's not a great deal, but it would be more of an occasion than going any further in the FA Cup, because, as you say, I think that'll be our lot after the third round.
Fair comments. What we will get out of it, though, as we understand it, is bundles and bundles of cash.
Yeah.
So, Kevin Wilkins' shopping list, what should he be looking for if he's able to replenish the team in January?
Well, he certainly won't be looking for a goalkeeper, Mark.
True enough.
I think we've got a good back four when it settles. I think we've got enough midfielders. It's just whether we've got that creative one. If we've got that Dean Keats, I know he's come back into full training today along with Theo Bailey-Jones, so that's two players back. Do we gamble on a midfielder in January, or do we rely on Dean Keats to stay injury free till the end of the season? don't think we need another striker. I mean, Kevin Wilkin seems quite happy with the strikers he's got. If we find someone that can add goals galore and not cost too much, yeah, go for that. But it's an odd one, isn't it? I should suspect the midfield will be the area, and perhaps a winger or two might be where Kevin Wilkin looks at.
Do we need another midfielder when we got Elliot Durrell, the holding midfielder from last Saturday? It was quite a strange change, wasn't it? I can't help thinking that we need Dean Keats, but 6 years younger and 6 inches taller. A player in that mould is exactly what we call somebody who grabs hold of midfield.
Yeah, and we're getting that player out of Rob Evans, to be honest, but it's still raw and still needs work and time and a lot of nurturing to get that talent out. But I think Wrexham will have that player soon.
My worry is for this season.
Yeah.
In that respect, so I like Rob Evans a lot, but he's like Dean Keats, but 15 years younger.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of learning to do before he can maybe step up and control games.
Yeah, and that's what we had. I mean, the 98-point season, Dean Keats used to come in and grab games by the scruff of the neck and keep hold of everything, but I think he's been troubled with injury this season and last season. It's just, you never know, we might have that second win mark and we could all be happy.
My worry is just that the playing the percentages. When a player starts getting injured more and more, it's a gamble to assume he'll get back to where he was. I love Dean Keats. I think he was fantastic. I perhaps prematurely, when the leader asked me to name my all-time 11 or players that I'd seen, I put him in. It was partly because I wanted to put a current player in and maybe make a little bit of a statement, in which case he was the only one you could contemplate. But he's a quality player who I respect enormously, but I just worry that the reality is now kicking in and it's going to be hard. Well, it's a gamble to assume he's going to be fit for the next 6 months, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't do it. I'll give you an example of that. Andy Morrell took a gamble on Stephen Wright, Mark Crichton. Both didn't work out, and we were defensively shocking last season. So, no, you can't take that gamble. If the money's available and the right player's there, take him.
Absolutely. That's Andy. I took over Tamworth when they'd won 1 out of their first 10 matches. Now they're mid-table. We've won 6 out of our last 8 games, Morrell, eh?
Yeah,
I remember him.
Huge shout out to Andy Morrell for that awesome work he's doing there, and he's on the score sheet every week as well.
Yeah,
I wish he'd have played more last season.
Bring back Adebola, I say. On the coaching, of course, Carl Darlington joined us this week, the mystery man of the League of Wales.
Yeah, he is to us, certainly. I mean, we don't know a great deal about him in the media team. We were talking about it before. Although we do know he comes with highly recommended. He's got all the qualifications that you need, and he's a Wrexham fan as well, I'm told. So that'll be good for us. I'm sure we'll have some good chats with him, but we'll try and catch up with him at the next game and speak to him for Wrexham Player.
Interesting that we're bringing in an extra coach like that. I mean, you often see that, don't you? Dean Saunders had his Terry Darracott. It's interesting to see them bringing in an extra man. I'm disappointed none of the papers went with the move over Darlington headline, but you know, let that pass.
It's certainly interesting that we're bringing someone else in, but I think a few people were saying it was unusual. I was reading on Twitter, etc. But it's not unusual to have. We've only got Gary Mills, Kevin Wilkin on the coaching staff, and Michael Oakes is the goalkeeper coach. Michael Oakes has nothing to do with the rest of the players. He looks after the 4 goalkeepers. So, I mean, at the end of the day, and most clubs at this level have got another coach, so it's not unusual. And as you say, Dean Saunders had Terry Darracott as well as Brian Carey with him. So perhaps his little bit extra know-how. I know from what I do know of Carl Darlington, a lot of his work has been with the younger lads in the Wales setup and with the League of Wales first team players at TNS, but we'll see how it works out.
It's funny, isn't it? I can't help thinking that move has its genesis right here in Starbucks Russell, to be honest with you, because you often see people here from football clubs, from League of Wales clubs, all the time, because Conyers is just down the road. They're all doing their badges and different things like that. You see Kevin Wilkin often in his Welsh FA training top.
Yeah.
And you often see players in tops, or coaches rather, in tops from Prestatyn and different League of Wales clubs in here on their lunch break, having a chat over what they've been doing on their course so far. And you can't help wondering if that's where this has all been done, where the deals have been made. You know,
yeah, sure. I mean, it'd probably be on the back of some people's mind. I wonder where Carl Darlington met up with Kevin Wilkin, but it will be something like that. It will be. I mean, it's well known. I think everyone knows everyone in football anyway, don't they? We certainly do in the media circles. We know who to contact if we need something from another club, don't we? So I'm sure it works that way on the playing side as well.
Look at the whole the idea of interlocked economics, don't you? Like the Southeast linking in with Europe, and the closer you are to something, the more things that match up, and the more opportunities there are. And then there's a little nexus here of that at Collier's or Starbucks, depending on where your loyalties lie. I wonder. I think maybe a deal made over a cappuccino. Yeah, I suspect
that romance makes me feel so much better about it as well.
There you go. Caffeine-driven transfer policy. Excellent. The big issue that Darlington, that Wilkin, that Mills will have to exercise their minds over, and I've been mulling over for ages. Who should we play up front? We've got so many interesting options, so many interesting combinations, but get the impression from team selections that nobody's quite cracked what the right thing is to do.
Yeah, and that is a puzzling one. It's difficult as well, isn't it, to really put your finger on where the best... I think it depends who we're playing. Because I was firmly in the Bishop and York camp. I must admit, after seeing them have been put together by accident and forced together, I was really surprised to see how well they did together. I mean, York's movement off Bishop's strength was brilliant, and then York getting the ball in for Bishop getting the ball in for York. Great, but is that our best combination? It didn't look like it worked on Saturday. Whereas the previous two games, the trophy game and the cup game, it seemed that Louis Maltz and Andy Bishop working together was coming together. But it's going to take time, that partnership, I think.
I thought they looked good as a partnership in pre-season before Bishop got injured. I think the York-Bishop partnership didn't work on Saturday because Dartford defended deep, and York needs space to run into behind defenders, and if he doesn't, he's not really got anywhere to go through the middle. And I was slightly surprised in the way we didn't switch things around and say have Jennings in the middle and York out wide to try that for a bit, because we say York's pace is his asset.
I mean, switching that during the game would have been quite easy to do as well. It was a surprise. We struggled getting in behind them, and we were saying the same in our commentary as well, saying that key to winning that game was getting York over the top, but Dartford just weren't allowing it. As you say, they were sat so deep. But Jennings was there as well, putting in from the left. I know Kevin Wilkin likes that from him, but he's doing a job for the team there. I should suspect. I don't think he'll be enjoying it much.
I rather prematurely, I think, wrote an article saying how much I like Jennings from the left compared to anywhere else before Saturday's match. It's next Friday's leader column. I'm sticking by my guns. I think he looks more threatening. What worries me is that he's coming onto his better foot. What worries me is that and I thought it was very true on Saturday, the one player who consistently got into really good positions where he was going to break Dartford down was Jennings. He was the only player getting in between the lines. I would also say, and I'm slightly surprised to hear this because I'm very aware of Clark's strengths and weaknesses, that Clark's passing to Jennings was excellent. He was the player getting the ball in midfield, working the ball between the lines, breaking through midfield and slotting those little balls into Jennings. Jennings' movement made that happen, and everything Jennings did I thought was excellent on Saturday till it came to actually delivering. And his finishing was poor, and his final ball in was poor, and I found it intensely frustrating. On the one hand, I thought that was a really impressive and highly functional performance by Jennings. He was extremely threatening, but there was no end product. So ultimately it was a failure of a performance, but I quite like him there, I don't know.
Yeah, I like him there. Jennings first. I mean, what frustrated me more than anything on Saturday was that he was getting the ball, losing it, and then having to go and win it back. But he was winning it back great. But by the time that had happened, Dartford had got bodies behind the ball, and that was a crying shame on Saturday. And just sometimes, just awareness. Him and York, I feel like awareness. They just don't pick out an option quick enough for me sometimes, and it's just that little bit extra intelligence which will come over time. I mean, they're still both young players as well. People need to remember. And Blaine said something to us a few weeks ago, actually, which is it's sticking out in my mind, that the first thing that comes into your head is usually the right thing and to do it. And that's what his advice to Ross White's been when Ross has asked him for advice in the past. That'd be my advice for Connor Jennings: just go for it and try that first thing. It might not always come off. We've seen that, and he might make mistakes at times. That's probably what's put him off doing that first thing. But he should just try it, I think. And Joe Clark, for me, I think he's holding him in the current midfield. He's holding it together. I know people aren't a fan of his passing. It's wayward sometimes. But again, I think he's got that bit of extra strength compared to the others, and I think he's got a good awareness of the game as well. But sometimes the execution is just slightly lacking. But I mean, I think he's done well, and he's done well as the captain of the team as well. And he's been strong in matches, but as far as referees are concerned and stuff off field as well, he's been great.
I like something about Jennings about losing it and winning it back. I think Jennings likes that move where first touch, he turns in on his first touch, and he likes doing that. He's at 180 turn, and then he's released himself and he's going to drive inside. The trouble is he tends to think to do it instinctively, irrespective of what's around him. And sometimes he turns in, there's a guy there, and he's turned out and he's gone into it. I'd say he does win it back, but you're right, that loses momentum. It's sort of, I always think of it as Vince O'Keefe syndrome when Vince O'Keefe was in goal for Wrexham. He used to get quite a lot of praise for brave saves at strikers' feet. Oh, you're there, fair play. But they often happen because he dropped a cross. And I feel just catch the thing in the first place, and then that save wasn't actually necessary. And Jennings, I think, should be applauded for working back, and he does work back. But sometimes he works back because he lost it in the first place. I think that an issue as well with him and York on Saturday. The thing that really troubled me about Saturday was that faced with a defence that defended deep and defended very well, and I think there's a huge credit for the way they lined themselves up. We just kept sticking in stuff from deep, from the wings. We weren't getting penetration down the sides. And to be fair, that's understandable. Carrington's not a winger. He's not going to take on and beat a man. He might work a combination with somebody and get around the back, but it's not as easy as just bursting past someone for pace. Jennings is left-footed, inverted winger. He wants to come inside. Pearson, I don't think, is naturally inclined to go driving past Carrington when he tucks in. So you've only got Ashton, who's liable to give you that level of penetration, and we were just slinging stuff in from 30 yards out. And to coin another old reference from my childhood, which 5 people will get out there, Andy Bishop is not Jim Steele. He's decent in the air, Bishop, but if he just lofts stuff in the area, he's not going to clamber over centre-backs, take one of their cheekbones out and header in.
No.
And York would have addressed that if he'd been driving down the outside, because he is fast enough to actually get outside somebody. But back to the issue of combinations, which we sort of started this on ages ago. Can you afford to not pick Louis Moult? For me, Moult, Smith, Bachman are the 3 players who stand out in the current squads. Can we really afford to not have him in the first 11?
It's one of those questions, and I know it's frustrating everyone. Everyone wants Louis Moult to start. All right, he got sent off. He served his time for that, and then he couldn't get back in the team. I think it was his daughter was born, and he's had things like that going on, and you know, he's not won his. As far as I think the line is, he just hasn't won his place back in the team. But finish like that on Saturday, he's got to start the next game, hasn't he? You know, for me, I'll be honest with you. I find it hard to even contemplate dropping Bishop though. I really do. His work rate's immense, and tracking back even now has become such a huge part of his game, whereas it wasn't last season. And I think Smith again. Smith's a name on the team sheet, but I don't know. Saturday as well, so I was kind of surprised that White didn't figure. I know he got injured in the game before. We were saying about James Pearson. I think we're asking him to do a job that he's not comfortable with. Get bombing on. I don't think they'll do that at under 21 level.
I just stuck at Moult. And I think, I've not the stats to hand, but since he's been in and out of the team, he's definitely scored at least 3 goals to my recollection. My gut feeling is that's something like 3 goals and about 6 starts since he's been in and out of the team. That's a good ratio to be. I'm telling you off the top of my head. Here's my theory. Let's see if it works. We played first chunk of the season with 4-2-3-1, with 1 man up front. What if we did that if our front four are Moult, Bishop, York and Jennings, the one player out of those four who has to be a fixed point is Bishop. You can't switch him around on the wings. I got flashbacks now to when Dean Saunders had Gareth Taylor playing out wide in a 4-3-3. I don't want to go back to that. Bishop's your fixed point through the middle. York and Jennings starting points are either side, and both of those are perfectly comfortable playing the other way around or playing behind a striker. Moult, I'm not so crazy on him having to go wide, but he's an intelligent player who finds space, and he's particularly good at dropping off into the hole centrally playing behind Bishop. Starting positions are Bishop's up front, Moult's playing just off, Jennings, York either side, and then we encourage the three behind Bishop to be rotating and being intelligent and thinking about where they ought to go. Maybe taking the lead more from Moult, who I think is naturally a good reader of the game and a good player who can spot pockets of space. Then maybe we've got a way to get those four together in a format that will get something like the best out of all of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think it'd be a formidable forward line, wouldn't it? I mean, it'd be an envy of most teams, I should imagine. I mean, again, it just harks back to we've got the players there to really do something this season. It's just the execution of which. For me, that'd work all day long. I'm still not hot on Jennings being out wide. I think Jennings does well in that pocket just behind the striker as well. We've got a lot of players, and sometimes it's fitting square pegs into round holes. I mean, that's where again Thompson. That was a curious one. We brought in a winger on loan. That to me is like Kevin Wilkins identified we need a winger. That says to me. So maybe we do need someone on one of the, like say on the left hand side instead of Jennings, and then let it be a scrap for those front places between Bishop, Moult and Jennings.
Another theory. Oh, by the way, the Thompson thing, I didn't get that. It seems to be with quite a lot of players who I quite fancy out wide. I didn't quite understand that, but hey. Another possible, the issue for me with Jennings and York playing through the middle is neither of them are scoring enough goals. And York in particular, how many goals has he actually got playing through the middle? He's scored most of them got from wide, isn't he?
Most of them came on opening day, didn't they?
Yeah, that's true. I think 50% of them definitely.
I think he scored 4, hasn't he? I think it's been 1 from the middle.
So logic says Bishop and Moult, one of whom's in double figures already, one of whom's one off, are the combination through the centre?
I'd say so. You pick the players with the most goals, maybe. I don't know. It's just that, again, we hark back to, do they work well together?
Yeah. And if needs be, if York is playing out wide anyway, we've still got the possibilities of rotating and maybe putting York through the centre if the game demands it. Yeah. I'm also curious, like I say that Bishop's a target man. It is a good match. I like him and Bishop and York as a pair. But Moult's very intelligent, and Moult is good at his back to ball, and Moult is good at dropping off. And I could imagine him, not competing aerially like Bishop would to flick things on for York, but I could imagine Moult dropping off and being able to pivot and play balls in for York as a combination. I'd be curious to see that. I don't know if that has legs or not, but I wonder.
This is where the legs fall off Bishop and York for me a little bit. Apart from the Maidstone game where they created a goal for each other, that was great. But Bishop winning balls to put York through, York hasn't been finishing them. And he's shown a bit of a lack of strength when he's got into those good areas, hasn't he? And I think that's a worry. So it's such a conundrum, isn't it? What do you do with these strikers? How do we get them matched up? I should suspect York and Bishop's the one.
The good thing though is that I don't think there's a lack of quality in those players. We do have options. All 4 I think are decent for this level. It's not as if we're genuinely lacking, I don't think.
No.
And then there's also other players we haven't considered, like Nick Rushton, who's a good finisher. And where does this all leave Elliot Durham as well, apart from that holding midfield role that we saw for 10 minutes on Saturday?
Yeah, which was a little bit hard throwing him on there.
I didn't enjoy that, I've got to be honest.
No. I thought Elliot did well on the wings as well. I think, you think about it, I'm arcing on about us needing a winger. Theo Bailey-Jones has returned to full training today, and Kevin Wilkin really fancies the look of him, I think, because we kept him on from last season. He impressed towards the end of last season as well. But it's anyone's guess, isn't it? What happens in that respect in January?
Absolutely. It'd be interesting to see just what he comes up with. Maybe he'll make Dan Holman a permanent signing.
You never know. You never know. I doubt it.
No, I'm going along that way of thinking as well. We better wrap her up, I suppose, haven't we? Then?
I think, yeah. I think it's time to get another coffee, to be honest.
So you could be right there.
Yeah.
This just leaves it to us to wish you the compliments of the season, not the football season, the Christmas season, and enjoy yourselves. Don't eat too much, and remember to be hashtag up for Southport on Boxing Day.
And hashtag up for Forest Green. Sorry, I had to get that in.
Is a reserve match at all over the Christmas period we should be up for?
Yeah, maybe hashtag up for Tranmere Reserves. I think it is. There you
Excellent,
go.
absolutely. See you in Bromborough, everybody.